We forget that reality is constantly changing, so our ideas about the world are constantly becoming outdated. And our understanding of reality is entirely relative anyway. It changes completely from one culture to the next. Even something as basic as the way we perceive sounds. For instance, think about the sound a dog makes for a minute. In the United States or the UK, we describe that sound as woof woof or bow wow. Ask any kid, what sound does a dog make? And that's what he'll tell you. But in China, they describe the noise a dog makes as wang wang. You think a sound would be a completely objective thing, but Chinese people describe it completely differently from us, which means they must hear it completely differently. Or what about frog language?
Frog!
In our culture, we describe the noise frogs make as ribbit, ribbit.
Frog!
But in Japan, they describe the very same noise as kero kero. And in Korea, it's gaigul. So what does a frog really sound like? Depends on who's hearing it.
Frog!
And the same thing is true of images. Just like the same sound can be interpreted differently from one culture to the next, the same image or symbol, like a swastika, can mean completely different things to different people. We tend to imbue them with all kinds of powerful emotional significance, and we forget that images have no inherent meaning at all. It's really just a contrived system of interpretation based on the associations we draw and repeated exposure over time, like propaganda, behavioral conditioning, or advertising. For instance, take the biohazard sign. In this day and age, with all these terrorists running around blowing everything up, we're all scared to death when we see that sign. But it doesn't have any negative meaning in and of itself. It's actually quite a nice symbol. But compare it to the Olympics logo for a second. Everyone loves the Olympics logo. It's associated with brotherhood and cooperation, all that sort of thing. But the two symbols actually look very much alike. If you take the Olympics logo, make it black and white, and then scrunch it up a bit, it looks just like the biohazard symbol. But no one's terrified of the Olympics logo, because we don't make the same kind of associations with it. I'm not talking about the new Olympics logo, though. That thing actually is pretty terrifying. But it's interesting, because if the same basic image or sound can have totally different meanings depending on who's perceiving it, even at the same moment in time, then maybe it's impossible to say that anything has a fixed identity at all, or that there's even one single reality that can ever be located and defined in the first place. More likely, there are multiple realities in operation, from an endless range of vantage points, kind of a hermeneutical hall of mirrors. So maybe we can never know what a walrus is after all, because it's all just a function of perspective. The problem with all this relativism, though, is that it kind of undermines itself in the process. Because if nothing in the world can be known with any certainty, then that's just as true of skepticism as of everything else. It's a bit like the mythical Uzlam bird, which, according to legend, flies around in ever-decreasing circles until it disappears up its own bum. Or as the deaf might say, but all the philosophizing in the world is never going to get us anywhere. We're never going to reach a point in the future where our knowledge is certain, or a point where we've got the world all neatly sorted out. That's simply a delusion, because everything is constantly changing. It's like the great Taoist sage Wan Chu Daoren once remarked. If you insist on seeking a place of rest, then even though you've married off all your children, there are no fewer things to do. Even though monkhood is fine, you still haven't understood your heart. An ancient said, if you stop now, then stop. If you seek an ending, there is no ending.